All right, folks, this is your 30-second warning. I'm giving out 30 seconds today.
You ready to talk?
No.
Let me start off.
I know. I'm gonna do it though. Good evening, folks. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the first meeting of 2023, Mayor and Council. Oh, yeah, I'm going to start with that. Thank you, Danny. Danny often corrects me. Sometimes he's actually right. So we're going to start with, I'm going to call to order the Special Call Public Facilities Authority meeting. This will just last just a few minutes, and we'll get into the regular meeting of the Mayor and Council. So I'm going to look for a motion to adopt the agenda for the Special Call Public Facilities Authority meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion from Mr. Carter to adopt the agenda, a second from Ms. Marchman. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. First item up for business is the appointment of the Chair, Vice President, and Secretary for 2023. I'll recognize Mr. Carter.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to appoint the mayor as chairman, the mayor pro tem as vice chairman, and the city clerk as secretary for 2023.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Carter to appoint the mayor as the chairman, the mayor pro tem as the vice chairman, and the city clerk as the secretary for 2023. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Montahan. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. All right, we need to take a look at the minutes from the last Public Facilities Authority meeting. So I need to get a motion to approve the January 2022 meeting minutes.
I'll make that motion if there's no correction.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. Marchman to approve the minutes from January 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Carter. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. Second item is the approval of the May 4th, 2022 special called meeting minutes. Can I get a motion? I have a motion from Ms. Marchman to approve the May 4th meeting minutes for the special called meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Carter. All in favor? That's unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. I have a motion from Ms. Marchman to
Second.
adjourn. Second from Mr. Carter. They're the only two working today.
I tried
All
to get
in
in
favor?
on that one.
All opposed?
No, I wasn't paying for
All right, we'll call that unanimous, and I will adjourn the Special Call Public Facilities Authority meeting. All right, now we will get on to the first regular meeting of the Mayor and Council for 2023. I'm going to ask Tracy Jarvis to come up for the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance from Officer Spencer Crawford. Afterward, I'll say a couple of words about these gentlemen. If you'll all rise, please.
Heavenly Father, we just come to you tonight in the name of Jesus, and we want to thank you for another great day. Thank you for the great city of Villa Rica, all the wonderful, beautiful people that live here, work here, the council members, the mayor, all the staff of Villa Rica. And as we launch out into this new year, we pray that your right hand of blessing would be upon all those in Villa Rica that work there, live there. And we just pray that you bless this council meeting tonight, and may your peace be upon us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, Officer Crawford.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. You all may be seated. Spencer, you're getting to be old hat at that, aren't you? You've done this a few times. We appreciate you. Spencer Crawford has worked at the Villa Rica Police Department since January of 2013. He's been a supervisor since December 2018, all on patrol. He spent the last year on night shift as sergeant over C shift. He has a longer history serving the local community than his 10 years at the police department, as he served as the newspaper editor for the newspapers of West Georgia since 2000, which includes the Douglas County Sentinel, the Villa Rican, and the Times-Georgian. In late 2012, he came to Chief Mansour and asked what he needed to do to become a police officer, and the rest is history. Thank you for your service, sir. All right, and Tracy, nobody gave me a bio for you, but everybody knows you're our hard-working community development director, and we appreciate the work you do over there, so thank you. All right, let's move in. I'm going to ask Sarah to come up for just a minute and just make a couple of comments. We lost a city employee just recently, and I can't recall a time when this has happened, when we've had somebody who was currently working for us who passed away. So I'd like you to, she worked directly for Ashley, who works directly for Sarah. So I want Sarah to say a few comments.
Yes.
Spencer, don't be playing with the lights.
Kay Lambert Sweetala worked for the city for 16 years. We lost her this week. Kay was well known for her sweet personality. She worked the drive-through. She worked in customer service for about for most of her tenure with the city, which was 16 years. And I know she sat in the drive-through for many of those years, and people got to know her and her personality. And she, vice versa, knew them as well. Knew the folks who had dogs that came through the drive-through and had a special treat for them. She was fun in our department. We had a good time with her. She could laugh easily, could tell stories. She was a survivor. Before I even knew her, she had survived breast cancer to a pretty serious degree. So she had a lot of stories. She'll be missed and gone too young. She was only 61 years old. We will miss Kay, and our thoughts and prayers are with her family, her daughter Tamara, and her granddaughters Maddie and Ansley. So thank you.
Thank you. And we do wish well to that family. It's always hard when you lose someone. I wanted to also mention that yesterday, January 9th, was National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Law officers have all chosen a profession that puts their life on the line every day in service of their communities. We had a demonstration of that early yesterday morning when a Coweta County Sheriff's deputy was called upon to use deadly force to defend the life of a fellow officer after a high-speed chase that began in Whitesburg. Of course, we in Villa Rica appreciate our law officers every day of the year and support them all we can. We appreciate the work that you guys do. Give them a round of applause. The next two items are not on the agenda. They just didn't get put on here, just a little bit of an oversight. Well, I want to recognize two members of the Planning and Zoning Commission who will end their tenure there, and just wanted to recognize them for the work that they do on that very important board. So the first person I'd like to come up is Mac Pilgrim. And he was an appointment by Danny Carter, and I'd like you all to give him a round of applause. I want to come down and take a photo.
Oh, cool.
With this, we'll do it right over here. Danny, would you like to come down here and take this as well? Did y'all hear what he said? One of the few people in the room I'm taller than. But it's not always like that, though, Matt. Because if you come here when we do it back there, I actually have a step that I can stand. Thank you for your service. The next person who we wanted to present this to, I don't think is here tonight. Am I right? Miss Marchman's member. These Planning and Zoning Commission members are appointed by the council, but they are nominated by the ward member from that ward. And Ms. Marchman had Shirley Hillsman on, and she will be coming off of that board now, and we'll be replacing her later tonight on items that have been placed on the consent agenda. So we also wanted to thank her for her service. She's just not here tonight, but we'll pass this on to her. If y'all give her a round of applause as well. All right, now I'll get back to the actual agenda. We're going to swear in our judge, which I guess you would be the chief if we had a chief judge, because we only have one. Judge Keith Rollins, who has been serving for probably a little over a half of a year, right? A little over 6 months. Doing a great job here, and we will also be, I don't know if it's on this agenda, but we know that you will also be the judge for another year. So we wanted to have you down here today. I want to get our city attorney to swear you in here, and then we'll take a photo. I'll let you say a few words too, because I see you've got your wife with you.
She said, "Oh,
Well, it's actually in your honor, because I wanted him to say some stuff about you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's an honor for me to be able to swear in our judge here in the municipal court. My very first attendance at a Villa Rica City Council meeting was to get sworn in as the city judge back in 1985. So it's a great honor for me to be able to swear in our current judge, Judge Keith Rollins. So Keith, I'm going to ask you if you would raise your right hand. I'm going to read out this. I, Keith Rollins, do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully perform the duties as an appointed municipal court judge of the city of Villa Rica. I am not the holder of any unaccounted for public money due this state or any political subdivision or authority thereof. I am not the holder of any office of trust under the government of the United States, any other state, or any foreign state which I, by the laws of the state of Georgia, am prohibited from holding. I am otherwise qualified to hold said office according to the Constitution and laws of Georgia. I will perform the duties of my office in the best interest of the city of Villa Rica to the best of my ability without fear, favor, affection, reward, or expectation thereof. If you will, please say I do.
I do, so help me God.
All right, thank you.
All right, let's give him a round of applause.
And Mr. Mayor, I do want to also introduce Judge Rollins' wife, Sandra,
Okay.
who's here with us today also, and just get her to say hello to everybody.
She keeps it real simple. We welcome you. All right, Judge, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say a few words here, if you would. You're usually sitting in my seat, so we'll let you stand over there and say a few words tonight, and then we'll take a photo.
Now Sandra tried to warn you.
She did.
To not give me an audience and a microphone, but I will try just to be brief and let all of you know that I appreciate the trust that you have placed in me to represent the city and to be your judge of this municipal court. Everyone that I have had the opportunity to serve with in the court staff, in the police department, and the members of the administrative fields of the city has been excellent. It's been a great experience. Everyone has been very professional and courteous to me, trying to I've been a judge for a good while, but not in Villa Rica, so there's things that I still have to lean over to the officer and says, where was that street? Or, but anyway, and I do appreciate this is an honor to me, and I do not take it lightly, and will do my best and my ability to continue to serve this city.
Well, thank you, sir. And go ahead. You know, those accolades are really the same from here. We've heard so many good things about you. It wasn't very hard at all to make a decision to extend into another year. All of the council members expressed that they'd had an opportunity to come into your courtroom and to see you at work and appreciated the work that you had been doing. So we appreciate you and your professionalism, too, and we look forward to those years of service. So if y'all give him a round of applause. And then, David, let's take a photo with you. And his lovely wife. And I'll will probably be the shortest one in this little bunch.
You may be there,
You can be wherever you want to be.
where you want me, honey. He's the boss.
My right hand is
Okay.
All right, thank y'all. Thank you. Okay. Next up is going to be some of our recognitions, our ceremonial presentations. We try to recognize our employees for years of service because we don't get an opportunity to recognize them enough every day. So when they have years of service recognitions, we like to bring it up here and do it. So the first one up is going to be Mark Hanna, celebrating 10 years of service with solid waste. Tom, if you'll come, do we have a handheld?
So as you might imagine, I don't spend a lot of time with Mark, but when I have, it was interesting. What, 2.5 years ago, about 4:30 in the afternoon, I get a phone call that says, oh, a train has hit a truck, South Carroll, and right in front of PD. So I got to watch Mark for 2.5 hours, maybe, yeah, about 2.5 hours, run the grapple truck and picking up boxes of frozen chicken off the railroad until we can get the line opened up. So that's probably the longest time that I've actually got to see him in operation. And I can tell you that based on that and everything I've heard about him, we're really lucky to have somebody, or even blessed, Miss Shirley says, to have someone with the experience that Mark does that can operate so much of the equipment that we have in the system. So Mark's been here 10 years. Can you believe that? 10 years of working, doing what he's doing, running equipment here. And we're fortunate to have you and appreciate you being here and for all the times that you have come in situations like the truck incident with the train. If you can imagine, everybody goes home at 4 o'clock, right? So what time do you have a train and truck accident? 4:30. Give everybody time to get home, and then you call them all back in. So Mark, thank you for your service, 10 years. You really do.
Thank you. All right, next up, so I'm going to recognize Ashley Swan, but she's not here tonight. Am I right? Ashley couldn't be with us tonight. 10 years of service, though. She's the customer service manager here in the city. Next up is recognition of Spencer Crawford, 10 years with the Villa Rica Police Department. Come on up, Chief. Hold that mic up a little closer. Tom don't know how to do that.
Is that better?
There you go.
All right. So Spencer has been with us 10 years. You heard his bio. He came to us from the newspaper. I would go on walks. Myself and Eddie Thompson would go on walks, and we'd stop in and see Spencer and spend a few minutes with him. And we worked really well with him in the newspaper. He would call us and ask us about stuff. We'd let him know he never did us wrong. He was always straight with us and great with us. And so he finally asked me, Chief, you always said if I ever wanted to come work with you, you would hire me. And he asked me, and I said, well, Spencer, come on. And so he came over, has done an amazing job for us. He's been a sergeant for around a year now and has just grown exponentially. My wife makes fun of me when I use that word, so I had to use it. But he's grown so much in the department and is definitely a great leader for his officers, and we appreciate the job that he does. Excuse me, the job that he does. And I consider him definitely a work buddy, but I think a lot of him as a friend too. I really think of him as a friend, and would believe that he'd do many things for us in the department as he has shown, and we just appreciate all he does. So thank you, Spence.
We didn't give one to Spencer. Okay. Thank you, Spencer. Okay, I have another one on the list, but the chief has just advised me that we'll do this one in February. So, Madam Clerk, if you will just move that one to February. Okay, I think we've reached the end of the ceremonial presentations. I hate to invite people up to speak sometimes because if they don't want to speak, then it's a little bit embarrassing for them to say no. But I'm gonna do this anyway because if I don't, I won't have a chance to do it again. So I'm just gonna ask if Mr. Pilgrim would like to say anything. If you would, I'd like you to come up because you spent, some years now on that planning and zoning board, and I think that's an important board to be on. And I just would like to give you an opportunity to speak as you head off there.
Never give lawyers, politicians, or preachers the opportunity to talk.
I'm bad at learning that.
There's 5 lawyers in the room tonight. I'm surprised we got anything done. No, I enjoy my time planning and zoning. I think it's very important. It's a very important position. I think the direction of the city is going to be shaped by what happens with planning and zoning, what's allowed to be built, what isn't allowed to be built, the direction the city's taking. We've seen exponential growth in this city, and I think it's even more to come. I think we have to be very wary of what we allow, and I've enjoyed my time. It's allowed me to be connected with my community. It allows me to be connected with what's going on, and I've enjoyed it. And the guys that serve on there with me, and the women that serve as well, take it very seriously. It's a free job. We don't charge anything for it. We give of our time. Most of the people on that commission actually go out and visit the sites. They'll drive by them. They'll talk to neighbors. They'll do things to be prepared. They take it very seriously. And so I think that's something is good for the city. I want to see it continue. So thank you for allowing me to serve. I love it here. I live here. I was raised here. My kids are here. I'm not planning on going anywhere. And I don't think this will be the last time I'll serve the city. But thank you very much.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. All right. So you have an agenda before you. I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Motion to adopt agenda as presented.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Carter to adopt the agenda as presented, and a second from Ms. Marchman. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. We have adopted the agenda. All right. Earlier tonight, when you came in, there was a sign-up sheet for public comments. I'm going to go through this list here in just a moment, and when I'm done with this list, if you did not get your name on here, I will give you an opportunity to speak in public comments. When I call you up, I'm going to ask you to give your name and address for the record. I'm going to ask you to please keep your comments on a professional level. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. If you deviate from this protocol, you'll receive a warning from the chair. If you deviate a second time, you'll be leaving. Only one person speaking at a time, and please, no comments from the audience. Please only address your comments to the mayor and council. And just a note, we don't engage back and forth, so I don't want anybody to feel disrespected if you start asking questions, because this is your time. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to do it. All right, first up, Richard Kress. Is there a Richard Kress here? Mr. Kress, if you'll come up.
Craig.
Are those G's? All right, Craig.
That's the way I write.
Not a problem. Just give us your name and address for the record, and we'll give you 3 minutes.
My name is Richard Craig. Address is 123 Reed Plantation Drive. My comments or concerns today is regarding traffic control and pedestrian safety outside of the Reed Plantation development. So with all the development that's going on with the North Loop and the potential building of a gas station and strip mall on the other side of the development, it's like doesn't seem like there's going to be any traffic control protocols that's going to allow for us to be able to enter and exit the community safely. Right now, we only have 2 lanes, and it's basically a risk during rush hour traffic trying to get in and out of that community. When the North Loop is complete, there's going to be 4 lanes of continuous 45-mile-an-hour traffic going north and south, both directions in front of our community, and there's nothing that's going to stop them down, because even now, as soon as they come off that 3-way stop, they gun it until they get to the full 55-mile-an-hour section, and then you have people come in the opposite direction that seem like they speed to the stop sign or to hit that curve doing about 40 or 50. So it's going to really be like actually a nightmare to get out of it once that loop is complete. And then on the other side is that once that gas station and strip mall go up, there's going to be people that's going to try to cross that 4-lane highway. So it's like I would like to know at some point if there is going to be some kind of traffic control protocol that's going to be put in place that's going to slow that traffic down, allow us to get out, and also allow for pedestrians to safely cross over, because it's going to happen. Like you put a convenience store across the street, there's going to be children crossing, there's going to be just people just walking across there, and I think it's going to create a really big public basic safety hazard. Because I know I'm going to be calling the Villa Rica Police Department if I'm sitting out there for 10 minutes trying to get out the community to see if we can do something about it. That's pretty much my concern. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, next up is Dennis Brown. I didn't even see you here, Dennis. Come on up, give us your name and address for the record. We'll give you 3 minutes.
Thanks, Joe. Dennis Brown, 2717 Mariner Way in the Beacon Village area of Mirror Lake. And my comments have to do with communications. I don't think anybody here will dispute the fact that communications is the most important thing. And just as our gentleman just pointed out, my concern has to do with communications from the council and from the mayor and from the city as to what's going to be happening, or especially what is happening. And frankly, I don't think at this point we have that avenue of communications. And so I have a suggestion to make. I'm very impressed with the weekly happenings that we receive, or at least 4,500 of us a week receive. I'm impressed with what we get from the Villa Rican and the Time Georgian. But the fact is that, as far as I know, those are the only 2 real communications that we have going to people in the community. So my suggestion is going to be basically utilization of the utilities bill, the city utilities bill, as another avenue of communications, which does get to everybody in the community. 6,800 utilities bills are sent out every month. And that is one way that we might get. Now, I'm not suggesting we have an add-on, because if you take a look at the fact that only 35% of those 4,500 a week that are now reading the weekly happenings that they get, and that represents relatively few who are really getting any message. And I'm not suggesting we get rid of that, because I think it's a great PR tool. I love it. In fact, what people say about it that I talk with, they like the announcements about what's happening and what's going to happen. Gil, they even like your letter at the beginning of it.
Wonderful.
But what we don't get is progress on things such as the North Bypass Loop, such as if you go down 61 right now, you've got construction going on not only by the loop, but we had a Family Dollar go up that nobody knew what it was for quite a while. Things such as what's behind the water bill increase and all that sort of stuff. Those type of things are questions that your residents raise, and unfortunately, in my opinion, damage the credibility of your hard work. And I do applaud the mayor, the city council, Tom, as the city manager, and the entire staff of the city for, frankly, the time and effort they put in on our behalf. And I think it's, to be quite honest with you, I think it's a slam that you don't get, the credit that you really need, because people don't know what you're doing. And they don't know where you're coming from. So my suggestion is, in the city utilities bill that goes out once a month, that what we have is just a one-page summary of the projects going on, not meetings that are coming up, not types of venues that are going to be promoting some of the downtown things that we do so well, but the projects, the things such as what's going on in the North Bypass Loop, the Liberty Road or Pumpkin Town Road. That was a big deal for everybody about 6 months ago. Well, as far as I know, we haven't heard a thing about what's going on, and now you see construction beginning on the Fuqua project, which is a big issue to begin with in the first place. One-line items with that. Now, 35% of people, 4,500 that are receiving, okay, I see my time is up.
I'll give you a few minutes.
Okay, another minute, thank you. 35% of the people receiving what's going on or at least the weekly happenings right now, is not good. I would suggest you continue that. But are the man hours that go behind that really worth it? It's a weekly effort. My suggestion is you cut that back to maybe twice a week, twice a month, maybe even once a month, and you add this one-page summary from terms of the number of man hours that would require to be done that would supplement then what the people are getting. And so I thank you for your time and your consideration. My only concern is you folks work too hard to get all the garbage that I hear a lot of my neighbors and a lot of people in the area throwing around because they don't know.
That's why I gave you another minute, because you had some really nice things. I'm just kidding. Do we have, where's the sound? Because I want this, I'm not watching that clock. I'm listening to these folks. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next person, but I'm going to come back and say something about Dennis's comments. Let me just make my notes right here. All right, Connie Wood. Is Connie Wood here? Hey, Connie, how are you? I haven't seen you in a minute. I need to come out there and see your new business. Go ahead and give us your name and address for the record, and then we'll give you 3 minutes.
Okay. I'm Connie Wood, and 120 Doris Williams Industrial Boulevard, Villa Rica. I'm one of the owners of Chippy's Place. It's a doggy daycare boarding grooming facility. We have recently had a homeless camp move in down on the curve down there, right when you turn off of Industrial Boulevard there. I mean, I really have sympathy for the homeless, I really do, but what they have created there is just unbelievable. It grows every day. Of course, today I did notice that it looks like something is happening. I don't know if they're coming down or what, but where are they going? They just recently came from down the road, but one of the little girls that works for us, she's in a high school, and she was stopped by them right when she was leaving work after dark, and she had $20 on her. She said, Miss Connie, I just rolled my window down and gave it to them. I mean, there's a volleyball complex right next to us that they're there some nights till 10 o'clock. I mean, there's some of the parents here at night. These are teenagers leaving. I have concern for their safety. I mean, and the 2 dogs that are there, they're pit bulls, and I watched last week the 2 pit bulls running free. Now, they were trying to catch them. They were doing everything they could to catch them. But those pit bulls were running over across the street at Gold Dust Park, running. I mean, they are, one of the pit bulls, I think, is the one that has bitten the police officer. There's some aggression there to be concerned with. So I'm just really concerned with I just don't know why that's okay in Villa Rica. That is right on the main road there, 101. It's at that intersection. I've called code enforcement. They say it's not their problem. They don't carry weapons. And if they're scared to go because they don't carry weapons, what do they think about us? I mean, he just flat told me he couldn't go. He didn't carry a weapon. And he said it was to call the city manager, to call the mayor, to call the police. And I've I've left messages at a couple of places. I've talked to the police. I've done everything I know to do, but that is just cannot be okay. Too many young people on that road, up and down, driving. Young people, I mean, just like Maddie thinking she had to give the only $20 bill she had to these people that are standing in the middle of the road. A child is going to get hurt by those dogs. Those dogs are aggressive. When it gets loose over there, and at 6:30 in the morning when I'm out there, they're walking over there already. And we're there 24 hours a day at our facility. So I'm just very concerned of the safety of the community over there. It's very dark. We don't have any lighting over there. And these people are just, their community's growing and growing and growing. So I just appreciate you taking that into consideration, and let's see what we can do about it. And thank you, Mayor and Council, for listening to me.
All right. Thank you, Connie. I appreciate that. And just a note that we are working on that. And you said earlier in your comments, they're moving, and we know that, but where are they moving to? That's the question. Yeah, well, that's the problem that we're running into too. Where are they moving to? So we're working on that at multiple levels here in the city with the police department at the administrative level. It is an ongoing issue, and it's not one that we're not paying attention to, but how we handle it is delicate, because they move from your property, they're onto somebody else's property. We need folks to report it, just like you're doing, but they can't be on private property. So we're doing what we can from a law enforcement perspective, but we're also looking at other ways that we can move them along. So, all right, let me move on to the next person. It is, somebody scratched out some names, so I don't know if they changed their mind. Is there a John Keller here? Mr. Keller, if you would come on up here, give us your name and address for the record. We will give you 3 minutes.
Good evening.
I just realized about.
And we're at 99 H.D. Williams Industrial Drive. We're the new development over there. Went through a lot of process to work out with the Development Authority to purchase that land and everything else. And actually, Mr. Craig's comments about safety have been a concern that we've had there with the construction going on, and he did an eloquent job of bringing that to light. Mr. Brown had a lot of good points as well, and actually Ms. Connie talking about that. I am the parent of 2 children that play volleyball at that West Georgia Volleyball Club, that are there at night, that are leaving at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. So, from a business standpoint, with our company who does business across the country and even internationally, we have guests that we will bring in to our new facility. It's a show and tell place, and so we really appreciate the city's willingness to work with us to be able to exhibit what we do and all those interesting things as well. So we will be parading people by and through the development in the industrial park to be able to see all those things. So it was a shock to me to see a 5-foot-plus bonfire the other day driving out, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, my God, and knowing from your comments that there's a process that's going on, I would just, request that there's continued urgency to find a good resolution and to have even the industrial park where that turn is, where they're parked, and they've got that car that's been parked there for a minute. We've got tractor trailers that are running through there, and there's, some patchiness where it's getting tore up a little bit anyhow, so that pushes the traffic around it. Nobody wants to drive through even a shallow pothole in that way. So, they're edged up into where there could be some kind of collision anyway in a pinched space. So, I appreciate the opportunity to echo some of the comments of our neighbors, and appreciate your work in resolving this. And if there's anything that we can do to help, would be absolutely delighted to. So, thank you.
Well, we appreciate that. Thank you, sir. All right, Cindy Talbert. Ms. Talbert, if you'll come up and give us your name and address for the record, we'll give you 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Cindy Talbert, and my business address is 120 H.D. Williams Industrial Drive. It's Chippy's Place. And I want to start by saying we go back with some of you way back when we first started the project of building a doggy daycare, grooming, boarding. And first, I just want to say thank you to everybody for all your support and continuing to stay behind us and help us get that thing done. So we're very happy. At the risk of sounding redundant, I just want to add one thing to the situation with the homeless, and I'll have to piggyback on the fire. I'm there a lot after dark, and the fires are sometimes large, and one of my concerns is all the wooded area. And if a fire jumps and gets into some of those trees, it's over at the rec department in no time, or down the street to us in no time. And the neighborhood behind us is just right to our back. So that is one of my major concerns since I have seen the fires. At first, they began as just little small campfires, and now the one last night was huge. And I couldn't tell if it started in a barrel and built around it. I couldn't tell. But in any event, and I would also like to, if there are any volunteer positions to help with figuring out a solution for this homeless situation, because it's it's hard to come up with a win-win solution because on the humanitarian side, that's hard because we don't know people's situation. We don't know how people end up where they are. So that's as you said before, a very delicate situation. It's hard. So I would, if there are any volunteer positions available to help with that, I'd love to. And just wanted to say something really about the fires because the other information has been shared. And my concern is one time getting out of control, and it could be a bad situation.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, as far as the advanced sign-up, that was the last name I have on this list. Is there anybody here who did not sign in who would like to speak? Polly, if you'll come on up, give us your name and address for the record. We'll give you 3 minutes.
Polly Oliver, 2511 Shoreline Parkway. I know I'm tall, in Villa Rica. I really just want to echo the comments that have been made by the last several people. I've been over there. The condition of that road is in pretty bad shape that forces you to stop as you're going around that really steep curve as well. Makes it very easy for the homeless people there to approach you. I had that happen as I was going to Chippy's place, but I was able to move on forward. I thought they were actually burning off the whole lot. Fires are an issue there. The dogs were loose the day that I was heading that way. I know it's an issue. I have a lot of sympathy for the homeless people. I know Douglasville has found, or Douglas County, I believe, has recently found some solutions. I don't know if that's something that could be replicated here in Villa Rica, but it is a safety concern going over into that area, and anything that could be done would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Polly. All right, anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Come on up and give us your name and address for the record. We'll give you 3 minutes.
Great. My name is Nanette Folsom,
Okay.
and this is my first city council meeting, so.
Well, welcome.
Yeah, I was having to ask Polly, did they all sit up there, and who's ours, and all kind of real basic questions.
We never leave.
I know,
We just stay
it's
right
on
here.
me for not joining you, right? All right, guys, listen, I don't want to be redundant, but I'm going to tell you, I am the 2500 Shoreline Parkway. I have grown up in Douglas County. I went to college. I came back, raised my family here, and I will tell you, I don't know what the protocol is around homelessness, but I do know what the protocol is around drug sale. And I will tell you, I have heard from my kids that came back while they were in college and said that is a place that they have seen on social media is a place of drug exchange. And what I'm referring to is the same place that everybody else is talking about, where there is the tarp, there are the pit bulls, there are, people coming out in the street, like crazy stuff that honestly, I look at places like Carrollton and I look at the impact of their school systems in attracting industry. And I work in corporate America, but I look at some of these industry owners and I'm sorry. And I'm embarrassed, quite honestly, that they would have to bring people into our county and they would have to drive by that, right? And not to mention concern for the kids that are just right there playing on the ball fields and things like that. So and the kids playing volleyball, and then of course our friends at Chippy's when they're in and out and there all night. So I went to pick up my dog the other night and Connie brought him outside because I was a little later. And I said, Connie, do you feel safe walking around out here? Right? It's nighttime. We know the 2 pit bulls are down there. We know that you're busy with the animals, caring for them. So for me, it's kind of a plea to you as we think about growing our county and attracting industry. What do we want them to see? Right? What's the image we want to have? Right? And I get there's pains to growth, but there's a better way. There's a better way. So I'm going to give you back 1 minute and 8 seconds. All right? But thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, is there anybody else? All right, Tracy. Give us your name and address for the record. We'll give you 3 minutes.
My name is Tracy Ivy, 646 Industrial Boulevard, Villa Rica, 30180. Being the Parks and Recreation Director, I just wanted to comment on some of the comments. Yeah, we're very, very close to this homeless population, and it's a dire situation, and I'm very sympathetic for it and about it. But we are turning a corner in our recreation department. We're bringing in people. We're making things better. We're in the middle of a basketball program right now, and we're there every night, almost every night, because we've got the numbers. We lost the gymnasium this past year at the Villa Rica Elementary School, so we're crammed in. No sooner than we get finished with that program, we enter into spring sports season. So we're going to be there late at night again. And we only have so many personnel to have eyes on our activities during the evening and even during the day, because we're all inside doing our thing, so that people can come out in the evenings and enjoy our facilities and on the weekends. So although it is a horrible situation, and I too would like to volunteer on any efforts that we can do to rectify this problem, but it's a dire situation. I wasn't aware of the pit bulls running around. And while I was sitting here listening to this, I texted a couple of my evening workers and asked them had they noticed any fires at night, because I wasn't aware of that either. So not information that we like to hear, but it's certainly something I think we need to be addressing. So I'm glad to hear that we are.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Tracy. Is there anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. Seeing that nobody else, I'm going to close the public comments portion of the meeting. And let me just make a few remarks before I get to council updates. Mr. Craig, I want to say to you that it always looks like the thing that gets the most attention is the big project. So you know that the big project's coming in, you know that the North Loop is coming in. But what gets lost in that, in the communication, which I'll get to in a minute, Mr. Brown, is all of the legwork and all of the preparation work that'll go into that in a traffic study. So I anticipate that what you're talking about, those concerns will be met. Now, I've been over there. I've tried to come out of Reed Plantation, and it is a risk. It's a risk every time you try to do it. So I know what you're saying. It's going to get worse. There's no question about it. But as part of that roundabout that goes in over there, and as part of putting in that road, there'll be a traffic study, and the right, somebody used a big word earlier, mitigation will be done to make sure that that becomes a safer way for you all to get in and out of Reed Plantation. Mr. Brown, I don't usually do this. I'm doing it tonight because these seem like really good, thoughtful, considerate comments that were made, and I want to make sure that I try to address them. I think that your suggestion about an insert is something that we need to look at. We have talked about it before. A few years ago, we talked about it, and the cost of adding an insert seemed a little cost prohibitive. We do have a section on those water bills where we can put in, I don't know how many words it is, it's not a lot of words, and it certainly wouldn't accomplish what you're talking about, but I did receive an email from you, and in a staff meeting right after that, I asked that we start putting together a way to communicate how to better get out the weekly happenings information so that we can get more people on that list. You cited about 4,500, and I know that we get out about 7,000 or so water bills a month. That's a direct way to communicate. We can remind people that you can go out there and sign up for that weekly happenings. We have continued to work on that. We have a PIO officer now that has been really raising the bar on that, so I appreciate that there are good comments about the information that goes on in that. So I want you to know that those comments are taken, and that we'll see if we can do an insert from time to time, because I do think maybe a one-page insert may accomplish what you're talking about, but I still feel like we're going to push people back to that newsletter, because that's going to be more of a comprehensive approach to everything that's going on in the city. I would also say, and you can look every week, is posted the city manager's report, and you'll find there updates on some of the projects that may interest you, but maybe not all of the projects that interest you. Connie, I'll say again, I know I made a couple of comments earlier, and we hear everyone here loud and clear about this homeless issue. We've got it in multiple areas of the city. We see it on our exit ramps. We see it over there where you're talking about. What I would say to you is we are looking at the staff level right now at an ordinance to help us address that. Villa Rica has never really had to address that. We're not prepared to do it overnight. We're working on it, and we do have some law enforcement pieces that we're working on, but we also have to find a place for these folks to go. You're right, Douglas County is doing something. That's not really on my, that's not in my purview of what I think we're going to do here. because I'm not going to set up a camp as far as I can imagine today and fund it and be able to take care of that. I'm not trying to draw it here. I want to try to push it out. So give us a chance here to work on it from that standpoint. As far as the fires, well, let me say, even before the fires, these folks being on private property needs to be reported to the police. May not be a codes issue, but it is a law enforcement issue if they're on private property. But the private property owner has got to say that these folks are not to be there. So that's going to be a first step. But if you have a fire over there, especially near that brush and those woods, you need to report that to the police department right away. That really could turn into something really dangerous, and especially if it turns out to be people who are vagrants or on private property to begin with. Make the call to the police department and let them work on the parts that are legal issues. We are working on a nuisance ordinance that we'll be probably bringing to the council maybe in the next month or two. I don't know quite when we'll have it ready. Are we thinking maybe February or March? Okay. All right. I think I've addressed as much as I could. If I missed anything, try to catch me after the meeting, and I'll see if I can help you out with it. Let me move on now to council updates. Are there any council members who would like to be recognized? Ms. McPherson.
Okay. It kind of relates to what we're talking about here, but I want to mention a few. Some of this is going on in Ward 3. It's also been in Ward 4, depending on where these people move. But I also had my own interaction with them that was a little scary because I wasn't sure if the dog was going to break loose or not, and I was watching its behavior. But I will, as far as a help, Impact West Georgia, which is maybe more based in Carrollton, but Carroll County, does a lot of good work with homeless, with vets. It's multitask, a number of things that they do. They also had a warming center during that time, and I wanted to make sure that people knew they could get somebody transported down there when it was so cold. Because people do find themselves homeless. I understand that. We also have a local ministry. I have the number of the person that runs it, but if you speak to Captain Hunter Etheridge, he has dealt directly with them on Connors Road here, a nonprofit that was started up probably only a year ago, and they're telling me that they're making a lot of progress, that they've gotten 4 people off the streets. And I can't speak, and in closing, I can't speak for everyone else up here. I can only tell you what my philosophy is on this. And that's that I like the nonprofits. I'm not going to set up a place to enable people to do bad things, from your teenagers to making it comfortable for them to have needles or anything else. My philosophy is you use nonprofits, you offer people help, you're dealing with mental health, sometimes they're harming one another in their own camps. You provide them help, and for those that don't want to help and aren't willing, then you need to move on, because I don't want you camping on my streets. Now I only speak for myself, but that's my philosophy. Offer help, they don't want help, move and go bother somebody else and see if they can get you off the street. Or maybe they'll enable you like they do in some cities, and we've been to those cities, and it's scary, and we've been accosted by people where they're camping all over in Austin and San Francisco and things like that. Thank you. But Happy New Year.
Okay, anybody else want to be recognized?
Oh, I kind of do.
All right. Ms. McCoy.
I kind of do. It is a very delicate situation. On the way here today, I was thinking, after a year of being on council, I've thought of a saying someone once told me that we have 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth, and we should use them accordingly and proportionately. And I think tonight, it really kind of rang home with me because we sat up here and our ears needed to be open, our eyes needed to be open to hear what y'all are going through and what the issues are. And so I think, so I was just thinking a lot of, we sit up here and we talk and we talk and we talk, and I bet to y'all out there, I know when I was out there, it feels like we get nothing done and we just sit up here and talk. But I think this is now the time we need to really, really listen, and maybe a volunteer board would be good or something. But as the mayor said, this is also a very, very delicate situation. We don't, I think Councilwoman McPherson said, we don't know what these people are going through. We don't know if they're veterans. We don't, and maybe they don't want help. We don't know. But this is such a delicate situation. I think saying a philosophy of saying I don't want them on my streets might not be the exact solution, but also a solution of enabling them is not going to work either. So it's not going to happen overnight, but we need to do something, and we need to be as compassionate as we can when we do it. And that's all I have to say.
All right. Does anybody else want to be recognized? Okay. So I'll close council updates. I'm going to move into the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a single item that encompasses all things the city council would normally approve with little comment. Each of these items were discussed at the council work session, and it was unanimous consensus of the governing body to place the following items on the consent agenda. So if you want more information on the items that I'm about to read off, go back and watch the work session from earlier today. It was at 1 o'clock. There were no objections to placing these items on the consent agenda, so I'm going to go through and read off this consent agenda. Then I'll ask if there are any objections, and if there are none, I'll ask for a motion to adopt this consent agenda. Item number 1. Consent number 1, approval of VHB Vanessa Hangen Bruslin, Inc. to conduct the long-term water quality monitoring and biohabitat monitoring as mandated by the Georgia Environmental Protection Division in the amount of $28,676. Consent number 2, approval of Lois Gerstenberger to be appointed to serve as the solicitor for the municipal court during calendar year 2023. Consent number 3, approval of the ordinance amending the Villa Rica Hotel Motel Tax Ordinance. Consent number 4, approval of the $75,000 annual pledge payment to Carol Tomorrow. Consent number 5, establishment of qualifying fees for municipal elections to be held in 2023 as follows. Mayor, $342, and council members, $270. Consent number 6, approval of the appointment of Doug Lang to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the term of 1/1/2023 to 12/31/2024. Consent number 7, approval of the appointment of Nancy Mims to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the term of 01/01/2023 through 12/31/2024. Consent number 8, reappointment of Caroline Cox to a 2-year staggered term 01/01/2023 through 12/31/2024. Consent number 9, reappointment of Rhonda McCullers to a 2-year staggered term, 01/01/2023 through 12/31/2024. Consent number 10, approval of the conversion of the part-time IT technician position to a full-time IT technician position effective immediately. Consent number 11, approval of the implementation of ARMIS Vulnerability Management Solution for an amount of $46,132. Consent number 12, approval of the upgrade and replacement of our backup solution with ThinkGuard for an amount of $37,405.40. Consent number 13, adoption of the resolution of support for the 2023 RAISE Grant Program application and 20% match commitment for the Villa Rica Transportation Reunification Program, Punkin Road upgrades and realignment. Consent number 14, authorization for the mayor to approve the attached master services agreement with Lowe Engineers to provide transportation engineering services. And consent number 15, authorize the mayor to approve work order 22.12.05 with Lowe Engineers to provide design services for intersection improvements at Shoreline Parkway and Punkintown Road for an amount not to exceed $54,635. Are there any objections to any of these items I just read? Hearing no objections, there a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Move to adopt the consent agenda.
I have a motion from Mr. Carter to adopt the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Ms. McCoy. All in favor? That is unanimous. Okay, we're going to move on to tab A, governing body. Item number 1 is the selection of the mayor pro tem for the calendar year 2023. I'll recognize Mr. Carter.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we appoint Councilmember Leslie McPherson as Mayor Pro Tem for 2023.
I have a motion from Mr. Carter to appoint Leslie McPherson, Councilwoman, from Ward 3 to be the Mayor Pro Tem for the year 2023. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Momtahan. All in favor? All opposed? That will pass unanimously. All right. Congratulations, Ms. McPherson. You will be moving to this chair here, and I'll reassign everybody else for the next meeting when we're done. You get to sit right there. How much fun would that be?
That's gonna be a tough move. This is an easy way of escape over here.
Well, we'll let somebody else escape down there. All right, congratulations. All right, let's move on to A2, the mayoral appointments of the 2023 standing committees. Earlier today, I noted that in the coming year, 2023, these standing committees need to have a schedule. A schedule was actually given to me today. So I'm going to read off these appointments, and then I'll give you the schedule that has been proposed. This is really for the council members to make notes. On the Recreation Board, the chair will be Shirley Marchman, and additional members will be Leslie McPherson and Danny Carter. The proposed meeting schedules here are the third Monday of February, the third Monday of May, the third Monday of August, and the third Monday of November.
We'll get that in an email, right?
Maybe. Okay, I thought you were going to write it down.
Print it out one.
We'll get it. The clerk will put it together for you. All right, housing. The chair here will be Leslie McPherson. Other members will be Shirley Marchman and Anna McCoy. I will get with Dick Chambers on this schedule so that we will have a schedule for housing. For the transportation and traffic, the chair will be Matthew Momtahan. Additional members will be Danny Carter and Leslie McPherson. There were no meetings, is my understanding, in 2022, and Bobby is retiring. So I don't have a staff person for this board yet, but we will work on this and get you a schedule. For public safety, the chair will be Anna McCoy. Additional members will be Shirley Marchman and Matthew Momtahan. This proposed schedule will be the second Tuesday of February, the second Tuesday of May, the second Tuesday of August, and the second Tuesday of November. For finance, the chair will be Danny Carter. Additional members will be Matthew Momtahan and Anna McCoy. These proposed meeting schedules will be the second Tuesday of February, the second Tuesday of May, the second Tuesday of August, and the second Tuesday of November. Madam Clerk, will you put these together and send these out to all the council members? I'll give it to you tonight when we're done here. All right, folks, let's move on to A3, approval of November 8, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. You've had an opportunity to review these. Does anyone have any changes, corrections, additions? If none, is there a motion to adopt a motion to approve the November 8, 2022 City Council meeting minutes?
I motion to approve the November 8th, 2022 City Council minutes.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the council meeting minutes of November the 8th, 2022. A second from Ms. Marchman. All in favor? That's unanimous. All right. A4, approval of the December 13, 2022 City Council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Are there any changes? Let me ask that first.
I always
Okay.
send mine in ahead of time.
All right. So, is there a motion?
Sure. Motion to approve, I'm sorry, we're on the 13th?
We are.
Motion to approve the December 13, 2022 City Council meeting minutes.
I have a motion from Ms. McPherson to approve the City Council meeting minutes of December 13, 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. McCoy. All in favor? That's unanimous. A5, approval of the December 8, 2022 special called City Council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the special called City Council meeting of December 20th, 2022. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Momtahan. All in favor? That's unanimous. I didn't know we had this many meetings. All right. A6, the first reading of the ordinance to redistrict the council wards. Mr. Mecklin.
Mayor and council, as we discussed at the work session today, the city is charged with taking a look at whether or not our council wards meet the requirements of the federal and state constitution and the one person, one vote standard, legal standard. Once the 2020 census was completed, the city did take a look at that and found that our wards were imbalanced. Some of them are too large in comparison to other wards, and there is a necessity to redistrict our wards to bring them back into balance so that each ward has essentially the same number of people in it. A map has been prepared through the state reapportionment office that does that. That map is available, been provided to you. It's also, I believe it's available online for the public to look at if they choose to do so. There's certainly a copy of it at City Hall if anybody wants to come look at it. We are going to adopt a redistricting map through the home rule provisions of Georgia law, which requires that the city consider the change during the course of 2 separate meetings. And we do have to run a legal notice in between those 2 meetings, which we will do. You have before you tonight the first reading of the proposed adoption of the redistricting map. I'd like to get the council's approval to publish the notice and to bring it back up for adoption in the February council meeting.
Okay, thank you. So as I said earlier today in the work session, there are some slight changes to the ward maps, and it is confirmed to me that this is available on the city website for you to go out and review. There is also a paper map at City Hall for you to come down and take a look at. This is important because you want to know where, which ward member you're voting for and where you will be voting. So make use of that. Once this has been adopted, which will possibly be in February. When we do the second reading, this is called a reading. Then you will need to go to the Secretary of State's website to your voter page, and it'll show you where you vote and which ward you vote for. Are there any questions from council? What?
I was just saying that they had put it up. I didn't know if you had
Oh, I
seen
didn't see it behind me, no.
That they-
There it is. You might be able to tell where you live. This is also unusual for me to get up. But this is I-20 here. So if this orients you at all to where you live, I'll just tell you that Ward 1 is blue. Ward 2 is this sort of purple color. Ward 3 is this yellow. Ward 4 is green, and Ward 5 is the real purple. I don't know what that color is right there. So these are your council members here. You got Ward 1, Miss Marchman. Ward 2 is Matthew Montahan. Ward 3 is Miss McPherson. Ward 4 is Miss McCoy. And then Danny Carter bringing up Ward 5. So was that good enough for a first reading, David?
Yes, we need to have a motion to pass it on to the next meeting.
All right, does someone have the motion?
I have a motion.
All right, Mr. Carter.
I move to approve the first reading of the ordinance to amend the charter of the city of Villa Rica for the purpose of reapportionment representative districts.
All right, I have a motion from Mr. Carter. Is there a second?
Yes.
I have a second from Ms. Marchman. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. And we will do this again next month before we finally adopt the map. Please take an opportunity when you can to go to the website or down to City Hall to take a look at this map. Okay, let's move on to community development, tab B. Number 1, Commerce Drive LLC, doing business as Chevron Food Mart. It's an application to offer retail sales of packaged beer, malt beverages, and wine. There'll be a public hearing on this item. Ms. Nairee, welcome. I'll ask you to introduce this item, and we'll see where we go from there.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and those in attendance. 157 Commerce Drive LLC, which is operating as doing business as Chevron Food Mart, submitted 2 applications, one for occupational tax, aka business license, for which they have been awarded that permit, that license. Consequently, they are looking to sell or offer sales of packaged beer, malt beverages, and wine. So they submitted the alcohol permit license, and that is the purpose of being on the agenda item and have a public hearing. The owner and operator, Mr. Bakat Ali Lakhani, is present here at the meeting.
Okay, wonderful. So first, let me see if council has any questions for Nairi, for staff. Ms. McPherson.
Just real quick, were they already selling this? It's just that it's a new owner, so it's a new license?
It's a new owner. Yes, the new owner.
But the
at
same
this
things were
location.
previously sold
Yes,
at the Chevron?
yes, I follow you,
That's
yes.
it. Mhm.
All right, anybody else? Okay. Is the applicant here?
He is.
Sir, if you'll come up. I'll give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and give you an opportunity to speak.
Okay, my name is Barkat Lakhani. I'm the owner for the Chevron Food Mart. Okay.
Give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Barkat Lakhani, and the address is 157 Commerce Drive, Villa Rica, Chevron Food Mart.
Okay.
Okay, I'm the owner for this business. Okay, and I apply for the alcoholic license. Okay, and I need permission for the license, and I have the trained employees for the selling the beer and the alcoholic.
Okay, are you the new owner?
Yes, sir. I'm the
Okay.
new
How long have you owned it?
Is 3 months ago. I buy
October?
this. Yeah, November.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, good. Council, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay, if I get you to just stand over there, I'm going to do a public hearing. It may be real quick, I don't know. Is there anyone here who would like to speak for or against this application? Okay, seeing none, we'll come back over to staff. All right, are there any questions for staff at this time? All right, Mr. Mecklin, I'm going to ask you to say a couple of words to the applicant.
Sure.
Sir, will you listen to the city attorney?
Yes, sir. Well, welcome to Villa Rica. The city of Villa Rica takes the enforcement of alcohol regulations very seriously. One that we're particularly concerned about is the sale of alcoholic beverages to underage people. And I want to make sure you fully understand that you and your staff need to comply with those regulations, and that the city police department is going to be conducting occasional operations to make sure that underage sales are not taking place. So are you going to make sure all your people are trained not to sell to minors?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because we do treat that very seriously, and if you should happen to get caught for selling underage, you can lose this license pretty quickly. So be careful about that.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
All right. We'll hold you to that. All right. Council, who would like to be recognized for a motion? All right, Mr. Carter.
I move to approve the request for an alcohol license permit for the business of 157 Commerce Drive LLC, which is Chevron Food Mart.
All right, have a motion for Mr. Carter to approve the license application. Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second from Ms. McCoy. Is there any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? That motion will pass 4-1. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to B2. These are 2 appointments to the Historic Preservation Commission. This item was moved into the evening because the city attorney was going to take a look at these terms of office. What he has asked me to do is to go ahead and offer this to be approved tonight, and he will continue to work on how these appointments should be and bring something to us maybe as soon as next month to be able to fix this. So that's the information I have. Council, do you have any questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Carter.
On the motions, it puts a name in and puts a 2 or 3 year term. So which one do we go with?
Yeah, I think Tracy Jarvis is going to answer that question for you.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, so we'd like to move Melba Arnold for a 3-year appointment, and On the second one, Alan White for a 2-year appointment.
Okay, so that is the staff recommendation.
That is staff
Okay.
recommendation.
Did you write that down, Mr. Carter? Did anybody write it down? Does anybody have any objections to those?
Alan White, how long, 2 years?
Yes.
Okay, I'll recognize Ms. McCoy
Sorry.
for a motion.
Oh, okay. I move to approve the appointment of Melba Arnold to the Historic Preservation Commission Board for a 3-year appointment.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. McCoy, as she stated. I don't have it in front of me, so we're gonna do this. We're gonna do it this way. All right, Mr. Carter is the second. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous. Ms. McCoy?
I move to approve the appointment of Alan White to the Historic Preservation Commission Board for a 2-year appointment.
Second.
All right, Ms. Marchman has that second. All in favor? All right, that is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to now do probably the same thing. On C1, appointment to the Recreation Advisory Commission. What is the staff recommendation?
The staff recommends to appoint Jody Mullins to the Recreation Advisory Committee for a 3-year term. We originally said this morning term from January 11th, 2023 to January 10th of 2026. So I know City Attorney was going to look at that as well.
I would say just go ahead with it as is. What my proposal is going to be is that we do a comprehensive revision of all of the city terms of office so that we can get some software that will manage all of it. We have everybody being appointed and going off at the same time, so we're not trying to keep up with 50 different terms of office.
I understand. Yeah, a good staggered system is what we need. Council, do you have any questions for Tracy? All right. So the motion will be what the motion was. So
correct.
Who has? All right, Ms. McCoy.
I move to appoint Jody Millens to serve on the Villa Rica Recreation Advisory Commission for the term January 11th, 2023 to January 10th, 2026.
Second.
All right, I have a motion from Ms. McCoy to appoint Jody Millines as the term she read off, and second from Ms. Marchman. All in favor? All right, that's unanimous.
Mayor, just a quick question.
ma'am.
Is Mr. Millens here?
Jody?
He is not.
Okay, I was just, because he had basically put together the soccer program, is that
He
right?
he came in around about 10 years ago when it was in some sort of disarray and really corrected the policies, procedures, and the selection of coaches and all those things that go along with running a youth program. Did a really, really good job. He's just ready to move on to something else.
Well, I'll match face with name sometime over there.
You'll know him. I'm sure
Okay.
you will know him when you see him.
All right, thank you, Tracy. So I'll say I am not one to be correcting anybody's pronunciation of any names, but I know how to pronounce McDougal. And I'm going to tell you, his is Millines. So just so everybody knows. All right. Jennifer, you're going to give us a financial update for November 2022.
Yes, sir.
You realize this is January?
Yes.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay. This is the financial update, as the mayor said, for November 2022. You can see the cash ending November 30th for 2022 was $33.7 million, with 8.7 being the general fund, 4.6 being in the water and sewer, 284,000 being in sanitation and solid waste. The Mirror Lake Connector is that new account we opened due to the Fuquay development. It has $7.2 million in it. The 2015 Carroll Splost is gradually coming down as far as its cash balance at $648,000. The 2016 Douglas Splost is sitting at $3.2 million, and we will be still receiving that Splost through our last check will be in April. It will be for the month of March, and then we'll be beginning the new Splost for Douglas County. The 2021 Carroll Splost has $6.2 million. Residential permits and taps. Year to date through November, we've had 9 building permits at around $19,000, 26 water taps at $39,000, and 25 sewer taps at $100,000. Local option sales tax is still performing very well. It has year after year and month after month. You can see the Carroll County sales tax experienced a 9% growth compared to the same time period or 1 month in 2021. We received $182,500. And the Douglas County sales tax saw a growth of 13% compared to November of 2021, and we just received just under $160,000. As you know, we have 2 enterprise funds or business activity funds, one being the water and sewer. The water and sewer fund, as far as total revenue, so far this year is $1,566,000. And we've had expenses of $1.8 million, so we have had a loss year to date. Our sewer expenses, though, have come down. Last year we had a lot of maintenance and repair on some equipment. That's not to say that won't happen this year, but so far through November, it is significantly less than it was last year. Our sanitation and solid waste total revenue through November is $272,000, and total expenses is $267,000, and we had a net income of just over $5,000. Last but not least is our self-funded insurance plan for our healthcare claims. Our contributions for October and November totaled $385,000, and our expenses are just above $213,000. So far we have $172,000 in savings, and our cash balance in that self-funded insurance is almost $1.4 million. And that is the end. If you have questions.
I mean, since we started doing these dashboards, it really made all this a little more simple, didn't it? All right, Council, you have any questions for
One question on that.
Mr. Carter?
Self-funded balance, does that reflect the money that came out to pay for the raises that we approved?
It does not. That will be next month when we go over December, because y'all approved it in
Okay.
December, so it will reflect in December.
All right.
Well, keep in mind, those weren't raises. Those were end-of-year bonuses.
That's right. They were
Okay, I
bonuses.
just want to make sure that,
Not
I know there are actually people who listen
No, it was an incentive
to
pay.
this.
Sorry about
So,
that.
all right, any other questions for Jennifer? All right, thank you, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
All right, we have gotten to the highlight of every council meeting. Friday was the highlight. We spent all day in what they call a retreat, but it really don't feel much like a retreat. It really was a marathon work session, and I was exhausted by the time we got out of there. But all right, let me recognize our distinguished city manager for his city manager's report.
All right, I'm only going to talk about one item tonight. So one of the things that we have to work through going forward, you hadn't even been briefed on this, so this will be new. So there is an initiative to further the attempts to remove lead from the environment where we live. Lead paint, was a point of emphasis and now has been for decades. Asbestos, you're familiar with. What we're dealing with now is lead in the water system. And one of the components of that initiative or that continuing effort is to require the city to submit an inventory not only of our water system, but the private part of the water system. And what we're specifically being asked to do is to document all of our water mains and service lines. And a service line in our context would be the pipe from the water main to our side of the meter. We're also being asked to inventory the pipe from the customer's side of the meter to the house. And if we don't know what material that pipe is made of, or our pipe is made of, we are to indicate that it is lead by default, right? And in the case that it's declared lead, we are going to have to provide a water filter, as I understand it, to the homeowner. So David is doing some homework on this because he and I, neither one knew anything about this, and so we're looking into it. But there's going to be some work on our part to do a more thorough investigation of our system components. And if you've watched what we've done for the last 5 years, we have made a concerted effort to remove the galvanized line from the system on our side. So where we had a galvanized line from the water main to our side of the meter, we've been trying to replace that with copper year by year. And in some cases, we've gone in and systematically replaced an entire, all the lines in a neighborhood. Other times we just do it because we're repairing a leak, and so instead of repairing it with more galvanized, we go ahead and replace it with copper. Some parts of town are copper, right? Some of the newer development in the city. But just so you know, on top of all the other things that we're trying to fix, we're going to have to comply with these regulations. We're also in a situation where we're dealing with an oversight agency that is understaffed. And to give you an example of how this sort of shakes out on our end, there's some annual reporting that we're required to do. Lots of it is monthly when you get down to the operation of like the water system and the sewer system. But even on the stormwater side, there's some annual reporting that we're subject to. And in the case of the most recent annual report, there was a declaration in there about some areas of the city's stormwater system that were considered deficient, and we were asked to submit a plan to remedy the condition. And it's now almost time for the next year's report to be issued or submitted, and we haven't even gotten a response from last year. So some of these agencies that we deal with on a regular basis are really in substandard shape because of turnover and COVID and working at home and whatever all's going on, lack of people in the field, so that we're not even getting responses almost a year down the road on some of the work that we're supposed to be doing. So it's difficult to envision exactly where that's gonna wind up, but I just wanted you to know that that's a thing, that's the condition of the relationship right now. We're remaining compliant with the reporting, but we're not necessarily getting any feedback, so we don't know if they like what we're submitting or not. The other part of this, and you just approved this, was about one meeting ago, I think you approved the EPD fine that we were given. So in that case, what you saw was an effort by EPD to go back all the way to 2018 and address issues that normally, like I can remember a time when even a matter of months would go by and EPD would address violations or permit issues. Now in this case, we went 4 whole years, almost 5 years, without them really doing what I would consider their job. And I suspect what happened was somebody came in and looked at what they weren't doing and then they all started running around going, "Oh, we got to go back and get caught up, or we're gonna look bad." So anyway, so that's what we're dealing with at the state level, trying to remain compliant. I don't know that that's going to get better anytime soon. I've not read anything that makes me think that it is, but we're going to continue to try to do what we're responsible to do, which is hard enough. I mean, we got plenty of things that we still have to fix, but that's what we're dealing with at the state level right now.
All right, some of that we didn't take up that specifically Friday, but we did talk about the larger issue with EPD and some of our water issues. All right, Council, do you have any questions for Tom on his report, Mr. Carter?
On the north bypass, everybody's always asking me about the north bypass. We see where the trees have been cut. What's next?
So I think clearing started in November. They were hoping to have that completed. I don't remember what Jay said. I'm going to say that the initial expectation was to clear in 6 weeks and to burn in 6 weeks, in hopes that by the 1st of March they would be ready to start grading. And then we're looking at a 3-year build from the time it started. So it started in fall of 22. We're hoping, fall of 25 to have a completed road.
That would include both ends? Yeah.
Both
Okay.
roundabouts.
All right. Ms. McPherson?
I'm sorry, having to do with the lead, is that, you said dealing with the state, but there were two different things. There was one that had to do with reporting that we have to do, and the other was these new mandates coming down with the lead and how we might have to, sounds like an unfunded mandate, that we have to assume that if we don't know what it is, then it's the worst case scenario. Now we've got to provide somebody something. Is that coming from the state, or is it coming from the federal government through the state?
I don't know, but I think that would be a good guess, coming from through the state. Right, but David's got to look into it. It may be that just the webinar stuff that we're doing, that people have misinterpreted it or overstated it. I'm sure hoping so, because I don't want to have to do what I've been hearing, but.
Yeah, this would be more than just a local problem. It'd be a problem everywhere.
Nationwide.
All right. Okay. Anybody else? Ms. McCoy?
I'm kind of piggyback on Mr. Carter. With the Fuquay development, what are the next steps? Because everybody has seen the trees cleared and they're asking me.
All right, so I haven't talked to Jeff in a couple of weeks, but they closed last month on the land purchase. Plateau came out and started clearing and grading almost immediately. There must be like 100 pieces of equipment out there. And I don't know how much of this was in jest, but in October or so, before they closed, he told me that his goal was to have the grocer open in 12 months from the time they start working, which will be the end of this year.
Which
Woo.
That's a lift. That's a real
Well,
lift.
not just for him. That's the big deal for the city, because we got stuff to do on each end of that project.
Well,
so.
it's a lift in regular times. It is something different right now.
Yeah, he's got a lot of rock to blast. We'll see how it goes.
Oh, that's another question. When I know the rock has to blast. Do we have any idea when we can
No,
expect
but
that?
I'll find out, and then, Yep.
Okay.
Okay, touch it on that part. How are we doing with our end of the road?
We're doing design on both ends, and we're doing easement acquisition on one end. So we're a long way from being finished.
Yep.
And I can't do Cleghorn Anderson until the apartments are finished, because I don't want their trucks to tear up a brand new road. So
So I got a call.
It's not all going to just perfectly all dovetail together.
Last week or 2 weeks ago about that site and mud on the road, and I called Tracy, and my
Right.
understanding is you guys went out. So that's taken care of. Tell me what the time frame is on Arbor Valley right now.
I do not know. I get updates on how many buildings are in progress.
They're making good progress. I'm
Right.
curious about how.
But I haven't talked. I'll talk to D and see
Okay.
if he's getting any kind of date from his contractor.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Tom on his report? Okay. Let's, David, do you have anything?
I do not.
Tom, do you have anything? Ken, have I got everything I was supposed to get tonight? You think so? Sarah? No?
I think he's trying to make the meeting last longer. What is going on?
It's not that. It's usually Ken gives me a list of things that I'm supposed to remember to do, and then sometimes I forget them. Okay, well, if we have nothing else, we're a little early, and I thought we'd go long with all the public comments. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Motion for Mr. Carter to adjourn, a second for Ms. Marchman.